So, if you're a small business owner, you probably asked yourself this question 100 times. When you need to get a job done, what's actually smarter for your bottom line? Hiring a person or, just deploying an AI bot? Let's really get into the numbers and see how this financial showdown plays out. Okay, but before we jump straight into spreadsheets and dollar signs, let's just take a step back and get some perspective. It's so easy to get caught up in the panic, right? The entrepreneur Steve Simonson put it perfectly. He said, in the 1830s, news articles declared that photography would be the end of painters. The pessimists are always loud, and wow, that really hits home today.
And that's really the core question we're digging into here, isn't it? Is AI just the next thing on a long list of innovations we're supposed to be afraid of? Or is this time genuinely different?
If you look back at history, there are kind of two types of disruption. On one hand, you've got innovations. Think about photography. It didn't kill painting. It just created a whole new art form right alongside it. But then, on the other hand, you have total replacements. Think about the whaling industry. Gone. Kerosene and oil just completely wiped it out. So the big question is, which one is AI?
There's this fantastic quote from the economist Thomas Sowell that just fits this situation perfectly. He said, "There are no solutions, only trade-offs." And honestly, that's the mindset we need to have for this whole conversation. It's not about finding some magical, perfect answer. It's about really, truly understanding the trade-offs you're making, no matter which path you choose. All right, enough with the philosophy. Let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk about those real-world trade-offs. And that always starts with the money, right? So let's break down what it actually costs. The all-in, no-kidding cost of hiring a person.
Okay, so picture this. You need someone for an entry-level spot. Maybe customer service, maybe some basic operations. You start looking around, and the average base salary you're going to find is right around $48,000 a year. That's our starting point.
But hold on, because that 48 grand? That's just a sticker price. It's not what you actually pay. Once you start adding in all the required stuff, taxes, insurance, benefits, well, the Small Business Administration says that number suddenly balloons to about $60,000 a year. That's the real number coming out of your pocket. And this is where the math really starts to hurt. Let's look at this over 5 years. That single position starts adding up, for sure. But here's the real kicker. Turnover. We all know turnover for entry-level jobs is crazy high. So you're probably going to have to replace that person at least once. When you factor in the cost of recruiting, training the new person, the lost productivity, suddenly your 5-year total cost for that one position skyrockets to over $300,000. Wow. Okay, so that's the human side of the equation. Now let's flip the coin and look at the AI alternative.
So, instead of a salary, you're looking at a subscription. A really powerful AI bot, something that can handle voice and messaging, comes in at a super simple, predictable $497 a month. That's it. Okay, now let's do the same 5-year math we did before. That monthly fee, it adds up to just under $6 grand for the year. And over 5 years, you're looking at a total of around $30,000. Compare that to the $300,000 we just talked about. That's a potential 90% savings. Just let that sink in for a second. 90%.
But here's where the comparison gets even more wild. What if you need 24/7 coverage, round-the-clock support? Well, that one AI bot, it's working all the time for about 68 cents an hour. To get that same coverage with people, you'd need a whole team, probably about 5 full-time employees, which would cost you over $34 an hour. The difference is just staggering.
But honestly, those direct costs are just the tip of the iceberg. The financial gap gets even wider when you start looking at all the hidden expenses and operational headaches that come with managing any kind of workforce, whether it's human or digital.
Yeah, just take a look at this. With a person, you've got onboarding, which takes time and money. You've got ongoing training. And then there's that huge disruption we talked about, turnover. With an AI bot, onboarding takes minutes. And turnover, it's zero. But, and this is a big but, remember what we said about trade-offs. What this table doesn't show is that an AI can't show real empathy. It can't solve a really weird, complex problem that's not in its programming. And that is a totally different kind of cost, one that can really tick off your customers.
And here's another huge difference, how their value changes over time. A human employee, they can get better, for sure. But often their performance plateaus. It might even go down if you don't keep retraining them. The AI bot, on the other hand, it actually gets smarter. It's constantly learning from every interaction, it gets software updates that make it better, and all of that is included in that flat monthly fee. So its value literally goes up over time at no extra cost to you.
Okay, so at this point, the numbers are screaming AI, right? But we all know the financial cost isn't the whole story. There's another cost, your own time and energy to actually get this thing up and running. So the question becomes, how do you get all those amazing benefits without all the headaches? Well, that's where a more human approach to AI comes into play.
What's emerging is this really cool new service model. Think of it like this. You get all the incredible efficiency and the massive cost savings of AI, but it's all delivered and managed by actual human experts. It's a done-for-you service. A team of pros comes in, they handle the entire setup for your business, and you get the power of the bot without having to become some kind of tech genius overnight. A perfect example of this is a service called Humanity Now.
So what a model like this really does is solve the biggest pain points for a business owner, right? First, you leap right over all the technical hurdles because you're not the one building it. You also avoid that commodity trap where everyone's just selling the same software and competing on price. Here, the value is in the expert service. And at the end of the day, it just lets you get back to focusing on your business, knowing you've got real human experts backing you up.
And this really points to a much, much bigger idea about the future. Maybe the future isn't about just buying pieces of software. Maybe it's about hiring these specialized digital bot agents to do specific jobs inside your company. You'd have a bot for sales, a bot for customer service, another one just for scheduling, an entire digital team.
And that brings us full circle, right back to where we began. We're always so afraid that new technology is here to replace us. But maybe, just maybe, we're looking at it all wrong. What if the greatest promise of all this technology isn't to replace humans at all, but to elevate us, to free us up to focus on the things that only a human can do?